Are you that manager who gets called in every year by HR because of your staff's low engagement scores? Or perhaps you've inherited the shell-shocked survivors of yet another transformation? Well, if so, you have come to the right place, because today I'm going to share with you my 3 top tips for quickly getting a team from the cast of The Office to the cast of, well, offices they don't make TV comedies about. Hi, I'm Penny Castle, 2-time best-selling author and Fortune 10 happiness coach. And you are in the right place if you want to learn how to use the science of happiness to build your career. Don't forget to hit the red subscribe button and the bell icon beside it so that you are never the last to hear when I upload a new video. Today we are talking about creating a positive work environment that promotes teamwork. Let's get started. So our tactic number 1 is to stop threatening your team. Now, I know you're not running towards them with a knife. At least I hope you're not running towards them with a knife. But it does impact a little bit on how our brain functions. Let me explain. The 2 bits of our brain that we are really interested in for this conversation is the bit here, your cortex. That's the part of your brain that is logical and reasonable. We often call it the director of the brain. It's the part of your brain that can make sensible decisions, can learn, can close a deal. It is the part of your brain that we really want to work with when we're at work. But at the back of our brains here, we have something called our amygdala. Now, the amygdala is a fantastic piece of kit to have in your brain, because what your amygdala does is look for information that tells us there's a threat. So let's say you are walking down a road in the middle of the night and you hear footsteps running towards you. Your amygdala kicks in and goes, hang on a moment, there is danger here. It shuts down your neocortex, because this is not the moment where you want to be thinking about the impact of changes in policing policy in the last few weeks. And what it does is it forces your body to push all your energy into your large muscle groups so that you can fight or you can flight, which means run the hell away. So that is really, really useful if you like to walk down dark roads in the middle of the night. The problem with your amygdala is that it cannot distinguish between you running towards your staff member with a knife and you running towards your staff member with an unreasonable deadline. So number 1, when I say stop threatening your staff, is think about the language you use. Too often I go into businesses where managers say things like, close this deal or you're out of here. All of these things get the amygdala going and then shut down the clever piece of your brain. You won't really believe me when I tell you what my tip number 2 is. But it actually begins with giving everybody the highest possible performance rating. This work comes from a man called Benjamin Zander, who was for many years the director of the Boston Philharmonic Orchestra, but also ran a course for musicians. And his tactic was that at the beginning of every semester, he used to say to his team, I am giving you an A automatically. All you need to do this term is prove that you are worthy of it. And I know this sounds kind of weird, but I want to tell you about a client of mine who was brave enough to try this strategy. They were in a team that had big marketing budgets. They had been top performers for years and years, but their sales figures had been on the slide for a number of months. And to compound it all, they were going through a massive renovation, which meant that the sales team were crammed into these awful little offices with nowhere to show their product and none of the gleaming, beautiful buildings that they were used to working in. But what their manager did was, he said, you know what, guys, I have decided all of you have made target this month. All of you are going to get your performance bonus this month. All you have to do is prove to me that you're worth getting it. And you know what? The team had not only their best sales month, but their best sales year, even without having a showroom. So that is my tip number 2. Make sure you're telling your team that they are great before they've even started. Now all they have to do is be able to come to you at the end of the quarter and tell you why you were right. So we've talked about my 2 top tips, and now it's your turn. Think about the best boss you have ever had and tell me, what did they do that made it so great to work for them? Write your answers in the comments below so that we can see what we have to do as managers to get that pumping environment in our offices. If you are like me and are a massive fan of Chip and Dan Heath, you might have already heard about my strategy number 3, look for the bright spots. Think about scores of all the salespeople in your organization, and some of them are doing great, but there's one person who is failing dismally. We as managers tend to focus our time on that person who's doing dismally. Whereas in fact, we should be, they posit, asking ourselves, what are those amazing performers doing that we can do more of it and push it through the whole organization? Now, this is a great strategy for helping people boost their performance, because now we don't tell them, hey, you're bad, in which case their amygdala switches on and their neocortex switches off, which kind of guarantees us that the people on the slide are going to continue and probably increasingly quickly. We can't go and ask those high performers what they're doing. They can't tell us. So what we actually need to do is watch them. And I do mean sitting there with a piece of paper and writing down everything that happens every minute. Very quickly, you will be able to spot what it is that they do differently to their peers that makes them a great performer. And then you can distill that down and make sure it's something that everybody in your team is doing. So those are my 3 top tips, but I've got even more for you. In the description below, you will find a quiz that will very quickly tell you how happy your team is and give you even more tips on what you can do to very quickly turn your team from the cast of The Office to the cast of an office that isn't a TV comedy show. I'm Penny Castle, and always remember, you can do more when you're happier, and it could be your ticket to the top.